How did you discover you did not want to be a freelance editor?
A couple of reasons. Going back to like structure and process, I needed a place where I could go to do my work, like a highly specified room, like my edit suite, a highly specified room where the only purpose for this room is to edit. And that's to foster creativity immediately. That's to remove all of the hiccups and things that could pull me away from like getting in my zone and being able to just like cut minutes. And so for me, I wanted that location. You could have that in a house, I suppose, or in an apartment, but having that isolated, specific creative space. And then for me, having community, having like other creatives is huge. With just in conversations when we're walking around the halls at the studio or at the coffee shop, whatever, having that immediate connection with other creatives, whether they are editors or in my case like retouchers or photographers, like just having other creatives that can bop in on the process and just be like, let me play this for you. My edits would be half of what they are without my people just being around and like, can you come in and check this out? And like the room just changes when you press play. You could have been working on something for 3 weeks and you're like, this is great. And then someone comes and you're like, can you come and watch this? And they sit down and you press play and you're just like, you don't have to say anything. I know everything I need to do. It's like, you just see everything different when other people are watching it. And so kind of the combination of like needing a place, a physical place that I wanted to like go to edit, and then also having like a consistent creative community of people that I've worked with. I've worked with some of these people for 10, 12 years, and so there's that understanding of the process and where we are in the process. They can speak into it. They know what's appropriate to say, what's not, all of these different things. And so for me, needing kind of that brick and mortar as well as that like flesh, that like personal connection of consistent collaborators from not a directorial standpoint, but from like a co-editor standpoint, like that for me pulled me out of freelance. Like I just don't like billing and invoicing and stuff like that. So like that just pulled me out of a desire to freelance, and I wanted to be somewhere. I wanted to like foster and build a foundation that would hopefully support something bigger and better than just myself. So we're getting into a more episodic doc series for some major platforms, and like their security, what they demand out of the systems and what they demand out of the servers and all of that stuff. Like I'm understanding and seeing the ceiling of where a solo editor could kind of fall in that. And I know they can staff up and stand up a post house and for a show like that, but I love having the consistency of collaboration, the consistency of process.
Yeah, I think you'd said in a prior interview that you have a shorthand with people that you've worked with previously, sort of just like this almost unspoken thing where you intuitively know certain things.
Totally, and not only that, but they also can call me on, like, you did that before, don't do that again, like, come on, like, this is you know what I mean? And so they know my body of work, they've seen me create my body of work, I've seen them create their body of work. And so you can see, from an editorial standpoint, you can see where someone may be phoning it in or modifying a really cool technique that they did previously, and you can see these things grow. And so understanding their history and their body of work, also I feel like you can speak into notes so much more, because I'd be like, oh, you did that, you did something like that a couple years ago, but I see how you modified it and tweaked it. This is a super interesting character moment, like all these different little conversations that you can have much deeper note giving, if you will. You can give notes at a much deeper level because you've worked so long with them.
If you had to move out on your own, and I mean outside of the post house that you currently are at, what would you be losing?
I think I'd be losing that connection, that creative connection with collaborators like editors, sound designers, colorists. These are story producers. These are all people we have on staff that I work with on every project. And so I would be losing that shorthand, but also that like I love working in sound, and like I spend a lot of time on the bottom half of my timeline than I do on the top half. Like sound can really sell a moment. And so I'm always collaborating with our sound designer, and he's making some custom sounds for me for this project. Like here are some really cool space sounds, we can dial them in later, but some cool drones and groans and stuff like that. And so having that like immediacy with the sound department, with the color, like, hey, this is gonna be able to be saved, is there anything we can do? And so I would be losing a lot. I would be losing kind of my whole system and kind of the whole way that I do the whole way that I edit, which is very open door, collaborative, pull in sound, what do you think of this? Pull in color, what do you think of this? And so other than just the infrastructure of the post house and the workstations and the servers and the backups and all of that kind of tech stuff, that aside, I would be losing kind of my team. And as I said before, it's like my team makes, like my edits would be a fraction of what they are without my team.
What if a young editor wants to be part of a team, but they don't know where to begin?
I think looking for teams that you would ideally be a part of, and then reaching out to some of those editors to have conversations. Like in my experience, editors are very willing to have an email conversation or even a phone conversation, or if you're in proximity, coffee or something. So reaching out to, you're kind of in my dream seat, you're with a team, you're doing great work, it looks like you have a really cool culture, community at this post house. A, what is it actually like? And then B, how did you get there and how can I get there? I think editors are very open to those kinds of conversations to kind of, because, you know, editors have a great rapport for younger editors and wanting to bring them up. And so for me, if an editor wants to be a part of a team, reach out to the dream team and just ask them I wouldn't ask if they have a job or like, can I work there? But like, you're in a seat that I really want. How did you get there? And what can I do to get there? And so being open and reaching out to those specific people that are occupying those seats is one way. And then the other way, you know, is obvious, but just to continue your craft, hone your skill, develop your body of work, which can be difficult as an editor because sometimes you're a little bit constrained by the content that you're cutting. But look for ways and opportunities to cut interesting things so you are honing your craft at the same time that you're identifying, here's my path to get to this kind of community or to get to this kind of team.
Now, we are in a very competitive industry, so how could someone phrase an email or even if they do meet someone for coffee in a way that doesn't feel like I want to actually take your job?
Yeah.
Because that's a reality in this industry, and people age out, even very young age that in other industries would be considered top performer. So.
Right. I'd say being honest with yourself about where you are as an editor, like I'm not ready for this, I'm not ready for this type of work or this stress of this type of job that you're doing, and then being honest with the editor that you're reaching out. It's like, hey, I really admire and respect your work. I'm not there. I hope to be there down the road, but I'm not there. And I'm just curious if you had any insight into how to hone my craft and skills so that I can find my own place in the same way that you found your place. So you kind of like dividing those worlds a little bit for them. You're kind of leading them to like, oh, you're not coming after my seat, but you do respect and you understand that it's taken a lot of work to get here. Because for me as an editor, I have like a younger editor that comes in and has some questions like this. I'm like, it's a long and winding path. It's a lot longer than you think it'll be. It's not going to happen. For me, I don't feel any kind of way sharing information because you could know all the information in the world and there's serendipity involved, there's sheer craft, there's sheer art, there's conversations, collaborations, meeting the right people. I mean, there's so much more that goes into other than just like a simple, oh, this is how I got here. But it's a good step along the way for that editor to start to open their mind to be like, oh, it is a lot more than I think, and I should start looking at these other aspects of my career. Like, yeah, actually editing is part of it, but also creating relationships and deepening relationships and identifying future there's a bunch of other stuff. So it's a very long path and a very long road. And so for an editor, it's like, I'm fine to share that information because it's like, you got a long road ahead of you, but it's going to be great.
Sure, I think there's so much of like, how can I hack this? How can I like reverse engineer it and then learn how to skip steps B, C, and D, and then, I just need to know the process so then I can kind of rework it. But
yeah, there's no hacking, unfortunately. That would be great. I think you might be able to hack into one great job, maybe a little earlier than or you should have, but hacks can often be found out pretty quick. And so there's not really a hacking scenario or aspect to getting in the industry, especially if you want to have a long, prosperous, not necessarily financially, but just like the stuff you get to make. Like if you have a long career that is like stuff that excites you, hacking and trying to take shortcuts, you're not really going to get there.